So there's no microphone? Can you hear me?
Speak up, can hear you in the back.
Okay, I don't want this to devolve into an Academy Award winning catalog of things, especially giving this bagatelle of a novel. But I do need to thank a few people. First, Eugene Platt for that wonderful introduction. Also, he got an article in the News and Courier, and he also read the novel in manuscript, which is no fun, flipping over tight pages. And he also supplied that blurb, which he read. So thank you so much, Eugene. Also in the house is David Boatwright. Where's David? There he is. David is responsible for the cover, and the publisher, Austin McCauley, said, what would you like for the cover? And I said, never mind, I'll take care of it. And David also read the novel in manuscript, which also is no fun whatsoever. And so thank you, David. I'd like to thank my family, my son, my elder son, Harrison Moore is in the house, his wife, Taryn, my co-grandparent, Susan Antigone, and my beloved grandson, Julian. Is he still here?
We took him outside.
No, he's outside. Drunk already. That's sad. And Caroline, this novel, as Eugene mentioned, would not exist without her. When we first started dating, I thought I'd impress her by showing her what a wonderful writer I was, and I said, "Hey, you want to know what I was like in high school? Check this out." And she said, she read it, and she said, She said, "What do you want to do with this?" as Bo Diddley might say. And I said, "Well, no, I don't know." She said, "Would you like to publish it?" I said, "I guess so." She said, "Well, it needs work." And she helped me through the entire process. And lastly, I want to mention my late wife, Judy Birdsong. I see some people from college pals back here, and they knew that I was not only an angry young man, but a foaming at the mouth angry young man. And Judy really helped to calm me down. And several of her friends said, "Don't marry him," which was really good advice, which she did not take. So here's to Judy. Okay, Today Old Boy takes place not only in one day, but only in the daylight hours of one day. And I got the idea after I listened to Joyce's Ulysses for the second time on 40 CDs. And you know, Ulysses sounds daunting and you can't understand it, but it's hilariously funny. Wouldn't you say, Paul?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really funny, and it's a comedy, and it takes place. Dublin was sort of a small town in 1906, and Somerville was a small town in 1970. So I thought it'd be fun to have a lot of characters bouncing around in a small space and to try to make it funny. So what happens in the novel is the week before the action starts, a student has died under mysterious circumstances. And of course, people react to these things differently. And my twin protagonists, Ollie Wyborn and Rusty Boykin, aren't all that heartbroken because the dead guy, whose name was Trotter, he falls off a bridge, duh. They're not all that upset about the death, but other people are. And there's a huge anatomy midterm on the day the novel takes place, and Rusty has not opened a book, and he's really worried about it. But he comes up with this great idea. He has art, second period, and what he'll do is do a painting of the digestive tract of a human being and label all of the things and be able to study and do his art project at the same time. However, as Bobby Burns once said, the best laid schemes of mice and men. So here we go. The art room is in a separate building that also houses an upstairs band room. The studio, as Miss Turlock calls her room, is a large rectangular space with rows of paint-splattered tables and portable metal stools. She has decorated the studio with an eclectic sample of student art, twisted torsos in clay, charcoal seascape sunrises, an impressive pen and ink rendering of Chartres Cathedral, a pasty-faced Joni Mitchell wannabe self-portrait, and squiggly psychedelic posters. I should have told you this takes place in 1970. The room exudes a pleasant sense of productive disorder amid the pervasive smell of paint. Becky Trulock has just turned 30, and though she loves the kids, this year very well might be her last at Somerville High. Maybe she'll relocate to Atlanta. She's not sure, but she would like to live somewhere more progressive. She takes teaching art seriously and begins class with 5 minutes of communal instruction. With 12 students, she can take roll visually, and only AJ and Rusty are missing, which might not be coincidental. A minute remains before the bell. She punishes tardiness because art's as important as any other subject, and students not being on time is one of her growing collection of pet peeves. As she peeks through the narrow square window of the door, she sees Rusty hurrying with a handful of papers cradled in his arms, and sure enough, the wind snatches one away, so ring! He pirouettes and chases the sheet of paper. It's comical, the taunting wind snatching the sheet of paper just as Rusty reaches for it again and again. She smiles, picturing Charlie Chaplin in a silent movie. Inside, the students, perched on their designated stools around various tables, quietly chat with their neighbors. Is AJ not here? Miss Turlock asked. Althea constructs a rueful smile. Well, he's at school, but not here. Although born in Somerville, Althea sounds as if she's from the West Coast, her voice a bit affected, somewhat patrician, distinctively hip. And Mrs. Laban booted him to Mr. Pushcart's office. A small clattering of communal gossip. Miss Turlock, uh-oh. The door opens and Rusty flusters in, sweating though it's a crisp 62 degrees outside. Sorry I'm late, he sighs, clutching the papers like remnants salvaged from a burning house. Knowing that they're often partners in crime, Becky asks Rusty, what's the latest on AJ? Don't know, Rusty says innocently, dropping the papers on the table before shedding his blue jean jacket. But this I do know, they have ways of dealing with people like him. The class laughs and Becky herself smiles. She resents the administration's heavy-handed enmity towards the counterculture, having witnessed Pushcart harassing Will Waring until he quit school, sweet-natured Will, about as dangerous as a vanilla Coke. Oh, it's okay for the shop boys to pummel each other right here on the school grounds and brandish Confederate flags on their overalls, but Lord forbid an art student don a black armband in a national protest against an immoral war in accordance with his First Amendment freedom of expression. No, that just won't do. So we skip around and we return to the art room. Across campus, Rusty is sketching the rudiments of the utilitarian masterpiece he has tentatively entitled Progress Through the Guts of a Beggar. And there it is. A loud electronic crackling derails his thoughts. The red light of the intercom has flashed on. Never a good sign. Every class has one. A rectangular speaker box mounted somewhere on the wall. Another crackle. Speaker box. Crackle. Miss Turlock, Principal Pushcart, is Alex Jensen in your class? Miss Turlock, looking up at the intercom, addressing it as if it's a person. No, sir, it was my understanding that he was there with you. Who told you that? Althea Anderson. By any chance is Rusty Boykin in your class? Miss Turlock, still looking up, still addressing the intercom. Yes, sir, he's sitting right here working on a drawing. Speaker box. Send him to me. Stat. Yes, sir. Speaker box. Crackle. Now I'm going to take a little parenthesis here. I know what it's like to be sent to the principal's office. I know what it's like to send someone to a principal's office. And as a teacher at Portugal, on more than one occasion, I was summoned to the principal's office. And so it's a very unpleasant experience from all sides. Back to the story. All pencils, brushes, kneading hands have halted. Rusty's on his feet, a look of panic stamped on his face. James Hopper glances at Althea, who frowns. Rusty casts a rueful look at his crude rendering of the digestive tract lying next to his open Biology 2 notebook with its hurried, smudged, barely decipherable, and misspelled anatomical terms. He looks up and encounters Miss Turlock's sympathetic, blunt, open features. Run along, Rusty. You can leave your things here for now. Okay, he says, oblivious to the students' staring faces, oblivious to the clay torsos, oblivious to the smell of paint, oblivious to the splattered tile, oblivious to the silence. He's pushing open the door and stepping into the cool autumn air, oblivious to the yellow disk of morning sun suspended above distant loblolly pines. He's deep inside the auditory darkness of a cave of dread, where echoing voices catalog his various crimes and misdemeanors, smoking marijuana, drinking beer, mocking the behind their backs, administrators, teachers, students, the mighty green wave, congressmen, senators, vice presidents, presidents, television shows, movies, Judeo-Christian deities, purchasing and hiding Playboy magazines for use as visual aids and acts of self-pollution, masterminding a high-stakes scheme to run away from home, receiving stolen goods in accordance with the above-mentioned scheme, not living up to his potential. As an elementary student, if he'd been called to the office, Rusty might have feared that someone in his family had died, or, on the plus side, he was being called to receive an award. But his name in conjunction with the initials AJ could only mean trouble. He's forgotten his signature walk, the freak flag flop, and leans forward, head down, oblivious to the pebbly pavement beneath his high-top Converse All-Stars. In the thin cavity of his chest, his heart pounds like timpani as he reaches for the cold handle of the outer double doors. The hall is empty. The only sound the clacking of heels, out of sight, doppelering into the distance. His hands shaking, he grips the handle of the glass doors of the administrative offices, pulling outward. In the bright fluorescent light of the outer administrative office, he recognizes immediately that the employees are in an everyday mode. No one has died. No uniformed policeman with badge, billy club, and handcuffs glowers in the corner waiting for him. He clears his dry throat and approaches Miss Cartwright, sitting at a desk next to Principal Pushcart's door. As he nears her desk, a tiny pink bubble puffs from her lips, then pops. Miss Cartwright, I think Principal Pushcart wants to see me. Now that's an interesting shirt, she says coyly, snapping the gun. Where'd you get that? She's dressed in a yellow alpaca V-neck sweater and a Kelly green shirt, the official school colors. Rusty had forgotten all about the shirt, a new acquisition, the top half of a service station uniform with the name Buddy stitched in an oval on his breast, certain to exasperate whatever vitriols brewing in Pushcart. Rusty realizes that he's left his Mr. Zigzag denim jacket back in the art room, which is probably a good thing. I got it from Buddy. Hello, Buddy, she says, smiling. Mr. Pushcart and Mrs. Laban are expecting you. She gets up, knocks, and cracks open the door. Rusty Boykin is here, she says into the crack. The muffled bark of a drill sergeant. Go on in, she says. The door creaks open squeakily like a coffin lid in a Christopher Lee movie. Sitting, leaning forward with his palms down on the surface of his desk, Principal Pushcart looks as if he might be on the verge of doing 100 or so push-ups. Sitting across from him, looking over her shoulder, a frowning Mrs. Laban pumps her crossed legs like crazy. Yes, sir? Have a seat, son. There's an empty chair next to Mrs. Laban, a wooden chair, upholstered in some sort of dark green, leather-like synthetic something or other, the kind of fabric, maybe fabric, that sticks to the back of your thighs when you're wearing shorts in summer. Principal Pushcart removes his right palm from the desk like some gangster in an old movie and positions it palm up, then sweeps it in a downward motion towards the chair. Across his scalp, strands of brownish gray flimsily stretch in a failed attempt to hide his encroaching baldness. Rusty, dropping into the chair, sighs audibly in tune with the upholstery, which also sighs. Now, Blanton, he says, using Rusty's Christian name, I want you to promise to tell me the truth. His intonation isn't all that unfriendly. Yes, sir, Rusty says automatically. He's a terribly inept liar anyway. You know, Pushcart says, that Alex Jensen was dismissed from homeroom to come to my office. This is an easy one. Yes, sir, I was in homeroom this morning. Tell me, what do you think of the events of this morning? Think, sir, I'm not sure I thought anything. You didn't think it was funny? I wasn't paying all that much attention. I'm sort of preoccupied. I have this really big anatomy test today. He looks over at Mrs. Laban for encouragement, but her features have hardened into a Madame Tussauds mask of an unalterable unhappiness. Lucretia Borgia, displeased with the consistency of her soft bald egg. Did you know AJ had come to the office? No, sir, not till the announcement over the intercom. Any idea where he's at? Rusty successfully stifles the impulse to answer. Behind the preposition? I don't know, he says instead. Home, I guess. His daddy's office, maybe. I don't know. Pushcart can see the little son of a bitch is telling the truth. Son, he says, are you aware that you are out of dress code? It wouldn't surprise me. I guess my hair might be. Where's your pride, son? Rusty doesn't begin to know how to answer this. A trick question? Of course he possesses pride, that doom-laden quality they talk about in English class every year. The moral failing that drives Antigone to break the burial edict, Ahab to pursue the great white whale, and Macbeth to go all Charlie Manson on his kinsman Duncan. I don't know, sir, he says. You know Alexander Pope called pride the never-failing vice of fools. As soon as the words are out of his mouth, he wants them back. What? Nothing. What did you say? I meant sometimes pride can be a bad thing, so I was hesitant to admit I had some. Well, Mr. Philosopher, I'm sending you home to get a haircut and to change that shirt. The dress code is rules, son, not suggestions, rules. When you look presentable, you come back to report to me before you resume your education here at Somerville High. Consider it a suspension, zeros and all work missed. Yes, sir, Rusty says. I suggest you hurry. Yes, sir. When he's out of the door, Paul looks over at Eula Lynn and asks, what period is his anatomy test? Fourth. Well, then, he chuckles. I wish him Godspeed. That secretary of yours is almost as bad as the kids out there chewing gum. I don't know about that, Paul. It sets a bad example.